What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You don't know what that order is, Mr. Trash. I'd show you, but I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too fucking blind. If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
We've said it once, we've said it before, we've said it a million times. The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim, this is Get Off My Lawn, the mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. Oh, I want to spend this moment in time talking about the great, or I should say the late great, Howard Stern. Oh, Howard, you have literally, as a product of the 70s and the 80s, such as myself, I had the pleasure of listening to the king of all media, Howard Stern, back in his heyday, back in the U.S. Open Source days, the Butt Bongo Fiesta days, him dressing in blackface with Sherman Hemsley, with him and doing the WOR show and not Channel 9 out of Sea Caucus, and especially living in the tri-state area at the time. I was living in Jersey. You got to hear Howard Stern was a big part of your morning. He was a big part of your drive time. He was the bad boy of radio. Dun, dun, dun. Well, the problem with the bad boys of radio when they reach a certain age, and I think Howard's 497 years old, or he's 70 plus now, you become what you hate. You become what you said that you would never be. And if you go back into the early 80s, you had the rivalry going with Howard Stern and Don Imus when they were both on WNBC. And Howard was the young gun with Robin and Fred and Jackie Martling and everyone coming up. He was the young gun, and Don Imus was the establishment. He was the guy at WNBC that brought in the ratings. He had the drive time show. He brought in the money. He was everyone loved him, except Howard Stern always made fun of him as that old guy, the old crotchety guy, the guy that just wasn't funny. And as Howard's legend grew in his wallet, in his own mind at times, he started surpassing Don Imus. He started taking over. He took over Philadelphia with the Morning Zoo rivalry, knocking that out of the way with John DeBella. He took John out of the way. He basically took over the tri-state area. He was then syndicated. His show became more cutting edge. And then years later, he would leave terrestrial radio and go into satellite radio, where we all thought that Howard Stern was going to be even more Howard Stern-esque. But something happens. I always remember the line from The Breakfast Club when Ali Sheedy's character says, talking about how they'll never become their parents. And she's like, no, it's inevitable because when you grow old, your heart dies. Well, sometimes the talent dies. Sometimes the talent goes away. And sometimes with people like Howard Stern, they become the things that they said they hate. They become the things that they said they would never be. Howard always wanted to be mainstream. Just look at the fact, though, when he started doing the America's Got Talent, started doing interviews, started kind of distancing himself from the things that he was and the things that made him famous. And as his audience has grown older and wiser, the kids aren't really flocking to Howard like they used to. And while Howard was political at times, he never really he never really delved into the arena of politics. He would have politicians on. He would have former presidents on. Hell, he would have people running for presidents on. But just recently, Howard Stern on his own show basically came out and says that he doesn't hate former President Trump, but he hates the people who support him. Discussing Trump, he says, I hate Taylor Swift's posts on True Social over the weekend. Stern told the listeners, the whole idea of you, like me, you are good, and if you don't, you are bad. I've been the victim of this. Howard, man. I mean, you literally, Howard Stern has literally become the crotchety old man. I don't agree with Trump politically. I don't think he should be anywhere near the White House. I don't hate the guy. I hate the people that vote for him. I think they're stupid. I do. I'll be honest with you. I have no respect for you, said Howard Stern to half his audience. The shock jock said he doesn't mind losing half his listeners who disagree with his political views, adding that he anticipates hate mail from those that support Trump. And he's also called out the celebrities in the 2024 Emmys for not taking a stance against the GOP nominees on Sunday. You can't be a pussy your whole fucking life, said Howard Stern. Well, the problem is, Howard, you have become one. You have become a shill for the Democratic Party. And I love it because you say these things and none of these policies of Biden or Harris affects you because you just re-signed $100 million contract with SiriusXM Radio. So inflation doesn't bother you. The cost of eggs don't bother you. The cost of gas doesn't bother you. The fact that if you sit there and are taxed on unrealized gains, yeah, that's going to bother you. Having a second death tax over the death tax we already have probably is not going to bother you. Not being able to afford car insurance because insurance has gone up 45% is not going to bother you. The everyday life, the everyday thing that Americans go through isn't going to bother the great Howard Stern because he's going to take a stand against it. Later in the show, a caller from Michigan compared Trump's rhetoric surrounding immigrants to the Adolf Hitler's Holocaust about Hitler about the Jews during the Holocaust. He says, "I couldn't agree with you more. It's the same playbook. We have seen it before in history. Do you understand that in history, basically Hitler was a socialist? Do you understand that, Howard? Hitler was perceived as a clown in Germany. He was the biggest buffoon. No, actually, Hitler wasn't. Hitler was part of a movement in Germany because of the fact that there was a void in leadership." I mean, Howard, I think you need to learn a fucking few things before you run your fucking mouth. Because we all know you're a moron now. We all know you're a corporate shill now. We all know you're 70 plus years old and now you're Don Imus. You have literally become everything that you said you did not want to be. And I kind of think that the old man shtick is dying. So hopefully you saved your money. Hope you and your model wife saved your money because I don't see you getting another contract. I really don't. He goes, this does feel like a replay of World War II. I am one of those people who believes that the election goes wrong, it will end the United States. Yes, because he only wants to give money back to people that are actually working. Trump, that is. He wants to put money in your pockets by not taxing your tips, which means if you work more and you work harder, you get to keep more of your cash. He doesn't want to tax overtime. Why? Because if you work harder and you work more and you work harder towards a goal, you should keep the money you make, which in turns allows you to take home more money and allows you to pay for goods and services for the economy. It's not a handout. We're not handing out $25,000 of taxpayers' money to buy a house when we know all that's going to do is tack on $25,000 to every home loan. We saw that with Obama's, I'm going to give everyone $8,500 to go buy a car. Well, shockingly, all the cars went up $8,500. Same thing with the electric cars. We're going to give everyone $7,000. Shockingly, all car prices, electric cars went up $7,000. He's not giving a handout. He's saying if you work, Trump is, you work hard, you do this, then at the end of the day, you will then reap the benefits of your hard work. Kamala Harris's big plan is we're going to make everyone a citizen. We're going to give everyone free healthcare. We're going to give everyone free this. Everyone's going to get a house, but everyone's going to have to get the same house because it's referred to as socialism. She wasn't voted the most liberal senator for no reason. You want to talk about someone that's Hitler-esque? It's that. And speaking of Germany had this great open border policy recently for the last couple of years. Everyone can come into Germany. Well, it's interesting now that Germany has now changed their immigration policy. They've expanded border controls to help curb immigration. And I love it because now the other European nations are like, well, we're mad at Germany for doing this. They're cracking down on immigration and replacing restrictions on a wide area, a free movement. I forget what the zone is called, where you can go back and forth, but it's angering the other European neighbors. Why? Because they're having so many problems with illegal immigration. They're having so many problems with immigrants. They're having so many problems in Germany paying for the goods and services and things that these immigrants need that they finally figured it out. We need to strengthen our own internal security. That's what their interior minister says. Strengthening internal security throughout concrete action. Tough stance against irregular immigration. So all the other European companies are pissed because they all know where they're going to go. They're going to go different places. They just picked up and identified a 26-year-old Syrian man who with alleged links to ISIS. That was back on August 23rd. So Germany, which you are spouting is what Trump is doing everything you don't want Trump to do, which is to crack down on the border, which is to stop people from coming here illegally and stop having the American taxpayers flip the bill. We have people that can't afford their own groceries. We got veterans on the street, but we're giving $11,000 vouchers for illegal immigrants to buy or rent a house if they leave in reference to public housing that's being supplied by the state or the government. What kind of crazy shit is that? And they talk about the rhetoric. Everyone talks about the rhetoric. Even Peter Doocy went off to Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday saying, you know what? You keep, twice now this guy's been attempted assassination because of the rhetoric. And you talk about taking down the climate a little bit in reference to all this rhetoric. And then you come out and call him a threat 2 days later. So, I mean, you keep people, this is what sickens me about half the population, I'm not even going to say half the population because I don't think it's half the population. But what sickens me, you have a segment of the population that doesn't want to work, which is fine, but they all want everything handed to them. They want everything free. They think they want a nanny state. They think Mamala needs to take care of them. Somebody needs to take care of me. No one needs to take care of you. You know what you need to take care of? You need to take care of yourself. That's what you need to do. And I love Howard Stern had a comment last year. To me, the opposite of woke is being asleep. And if woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or what I support people who want to be transgender, or am I the vaccine dude? Call me fucking woke if you want. We all know Howard Stern's a hypochondriac. So for him to force people to put needles in the arm that they don't agree with and really has no fact-based ability we don't know exactly how it works. We don't know what these vaccines actually do. Howard, you're Don Imus. You literally everything that you didn't want to be, you are right now. You are the crotchety old man with a radio show. And I love it because he got into it with Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman, the actor, a bunch of movies, a bunch of TV shows, Hogan Family. And Bateman has launched a podcast, and I can't remember who he launched a podcast with, Will Arnett. And Howard Stern is 70. He's not 497. He just looks like he's 497 now. So evidently Howard Stern didn't like the fact that these podcasts are becoming successful. So he basically came out and said, everyone's got a fucking microphone in their house. Everyone is on the radio. Yeah. So what's your point, Howard? Are you upset that there are people with more talent than you doing? I'm not saying Jason Bateman is more talented than you because I don't know because I've never listened to Jason Bateman's podcast. But are you upset that people can actually now have a voice? Are you upset now that people are actually doing what you're doing and it doesn't seem to be that hard? I'm not looking in the mirror. It's not that difficult. Get off my lawn. Not as successful as the Howard Stern show, of course, but we have success. I do online Big Blue Sports Entertainment. Talk about the Giants. Very successful. You don't need You no longer need this degree in radio. You no longer need this degree from Boston College, Howard. And he says, and as Jason goes, it's crazy. Like, we started this thing out of our basement, like a radio show. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Cool. He says, yeah, you started this thing. And it was like just the three of us sitting around. We talked, cracked each other up. I don't know what's going to happen with it, man. But me telling you, it's the biggest thing ever. That's what basically Howard Stern and Jason said. And Jason said, that was bullshit. I didn't say that. And so Stern went on to say, so I go, oh, this is great. I spent my life begging people to be put on the radio. You had to work on your voice like this and that. You had to work on your content. You had to make sure you get people make sure you get people he's clowning around. Sorry. I couldn't read the whole statement because the whole statement didn't make sense. So Howard Stern's now, the crotchety old man, Howard Stern, is now upset that people can do what he does. Maybe you're not as talented as you think. Could that be a possibility? I know that's shocking, and maybe that's not a possibility, but yeah. There's a possibility, Howard, that you're not as talented as you think. And old man, let me tell you something. The world has changed. There's no longer just terrestrial radio in the car. You should know this because you're on satellite radio. People can listen to YouTube. People can listen to podcasts. People can do all these things. They don't need you anymore. And honestly, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Because I think your views are so out of whack now, and you are so out of touch with your audience. You forget. Some of us remember where you came from, Mr. Butt Bongo Fiesta. Mr. dressing up in blackface with Sherman Hemsley. Throwing the N-word around, all the other Channel 9 skits, all the things that you did to make yourself famous, and now you seem to be wanting to repent for these things by becoming by becoming Don Imus. And you are Don Imus. If I held two pictures compared to you either, you wouldn't even know who's who. It's time, Howard. It's time to go away. And like we've said before, don't go away, man. Don't go. Just go away. It's time, Howard. It's time. Sorry, I was drinking coffee at the same time. Oh, my God, people. We're going to have to talk about the election. I'm going to have to talk about unrealized gains, taxes that we're going to have coming up. We need to talk about a little bit again about how Trump is actually trying to put money in people's pockets and not just give a handout and a giveaway. We got to talk about how there's a metal that China is now hoarding that's going to damage the U.S. military. Oh, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up, so make sure you tune in. And don't forget, the truth shall always set you free. This is Tim, that's going to find along the mad ramblings of a Gen Xer, and I'm out of here.